Welcome to our few moments together on the Parsha. This Shabbos, we have the privilege of reading Parshas Vayikra, the beginning of Sefer Vayikra. And if you take a look at the first pasuk at the beginning of Vayikra, it begins with the words Vayikra el Moshe, and he called to Moshe. If you'll take a look at the first word, you'll notice that the word Vayikra is spelled with the Aleph Ze'ira, a very small Aleph. Why? Why is that letter so small? So, Rashi notes it, the Baal HaTurim makes mention of the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu did not want to write Vayikra. He wanted to write Vayikor. He didn't want to assume any conceit or haughtiness for himself, as if Hashem is speaking to him in a very personal manner, in a way that there's nowhere in all of Tanakh that anyone ever is spoken to with the words Vayikra El to a human being. There are Nevi'im that spoke to people that way, but there's never a case where Hashem spoke to an individual using the term Vayikra, only to Moshe. And so Moshe would have been, at this point, a very high position. He would have been considered, which he was, the greatest of all Nevi'im, Peh el Peh Adaber Bo. Hashem spoke to him word, mouth to mouth, so to speak, in a very personal way. And Moshe Rabbeinu did not want to write that. He didn't want that he, who was known as Onav Mikol Odom, not that he wrote those words. Hashem told him to write that he was Moshe Onav Mikol Odom. He didn't want to write the word Vayikra, which would have afforded him a special, unique status that no one else in all the world ever achieved. And so Moshe didn't want to write Vayikra. He wanted to write the word Vayikor. And the word Vayikor means, in a simple way, and he chanced upon him, b'mikre. By chance. It wasn't planned. It wasn't that Hashem spoke to him directly, but it was b'mikre. By chance, Hashem came to him. So Moshe wanted to write that, but Hashem said, no, you have to write Vayikra. B'chol beis hinemonu. He is more beloved in my entire home than anyone else. Therefore, you write Vayikra. But Moshe couldn't bring himself to do it. So what did he do? He wrote with a small Aleph. The Sefer Matamim brings down a very interesting point. There is a pasuk that we know in Chumash Shmos and Kisisa that when Moshe Rabbeinu came down from the mountain after receiving the Luchos, the second Luchos, and bringing down the Sefer Torah, so it says, Ki karan or panov, that the face of Moshe Rabbeinu was shining. There was a shine on his face. And the Baal HaTurim speaks about, and others speak about, the shine that Moshe Rabbeinu had, and perhaps the shine came from somewhere special. Now, where did it come from? It came, and there's a Medrash Kaliyah about this. The Medrash says that when Moshe Rabbeinu finished writing the Sefer Torah, there was a little tiny drop of ink that was left in the pen that he used to write the Sefer Torah. And it was such a tedious job of 40 days writing and explaining and learning all the Torah that when Moshe finished, says the Medrash, he took his hand and he wiped it across his forehead as if to say, woo, Baruch Hashem, I finished the job. And in his hand was the pen, which had the little drop of ink that was left over in the pen. And when he wiped it across his forehead, that drop of ink made his forehead and his whole face shine. So the Sefer Matamim wants to know, I don't understand something here. Hashem knew exactly how many words and letters and spaces there are going to be in the Sefer Torah. And Moshe Rabbeinu was communicated, you need a pen? Here, I'll give you a pen with the right amount of ink in it, and when he finished, there should be none left. It's very precise. There's no fooling around over here. There a whole bunch of ink left. It wasn't a drop. It was a tiny little drop. The question is, so where did that extra drop come from? If Moshe would have been given a pen by Hashem, or he himself precisely would have given a pen with the right amount of ink, how could there have been any left over? So he explains, no, I'll tell you what there was left over. There was left over from the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to write Vayikra with a large aleph, and instead he wrote it because of his humility with a small aleph. It's amazing. A little humility can make a person's face shine, especially when it's the humility of the Torah. And when our forehead is spread with that humility, okay, we understand it's a medrash, and it doesn't mean that every human being that has humble all of a sudden is going to be shining out, but I can testify that there's a certain kedusha of a humility that comes from the heart that makes a person's face shine. I remember the first time I walked into the yeshiva Tiferes Yerushalayim, and Reb Moshe Zatzal was coming down the stairs. I was about to go in for a bechina and to see if I would be accepted in the yeshiva, and I lifted my head, and there was Reb Moshe coming down the stairs, and I went, like his face was shining. There was a brightness to it. It was an absolute beauty, and it was, of course, he was a very, very humble man. And the second time that happened to me was when I had recently gotten engaged, and my wife's grandfather, who was a close friend, I could say, of the Satmar Rebbe, Zechrono Zechatzat Levracha, Reb Yoel, the author of the Divrei Yoel, and all the beautiful Svarim, and the beautiful Torah, the leader of Satmar, and when I got engaged, my wife's grandfather said to me, Megate some Satmar Rebbe. We're going to the Satmar Rebbe for a bracha. And I said, I don't want to go. I didn't want to go because there was not long before that a tremendous machlokes in Psak that Rav Moshe permitted certain forms of IVF, in vitro fertilization, and the Satmar Rebbe's Psak didn't agree with it. And there were some that were protesting against Rav Moshe in a not nice way, and I didn't want to get involved in this particular argument, so I didn't want to go. And my grandfather, my wife's grandfather, insisted, Megate some Satmar Rebbe. I felt I had no choice. I want to break his shidduch. So I went, and when I came in, and I walked into the beautiful, beautiful room where the Satmar Rebbe Zal was sitting, the door was open, and I walked in, and I looked, and I said, oh, wow. The only other time I saw such a shine on a person's face was with Rav Moshe, and the Satmar Rebbe too was a great tzaddik, and he gave beautiful, beautiful brachas. And I believe that I was blessed by seeing those two visages. And they had a tremendous amount of humility, both of them. The strength of their Torah and their personal, humble demeanor possibly was the cause of that great shine. Just like by Moshe Rabbeinu, a little humility goes a long way. And humility doesn't mean that we think of ourselves as nothing. On the contrary, we recognize that we're valuable. We recognize our contributions and our abilities that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us as a gift. And what we have to do is not think of ourselves, you're the one. It's rather HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's the one. He's the one. And so, both of these personalities, and of course Moshe Rabbeinu, chief amongst them, had a beautiful shine on their face. Now the truth is, we have a lot to talk about today, especially that it's, for me at least, already past Tainus Esther, and we're getting ready for the beautiful Yom Tov of Purim, but we have to be aware that Chumash Vayikra can't be left out of the picture, and I'm sure over Shabbos there'll be many discussions of beautiful Divrei Torah on the Megillah, and it behooves us all to recognize that there's a tremendous connection between what happened with Esther and Mordechai and saving of the Jewish people, and a strong sense of humility on Mordechai's part, but he was a lion when it came to standing up for Klal Yisrael, and so should we be, like lions, pleading with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and standing up for the uniqueness of Klal Yisrael and not assimilating amongst the people at large, so that the strength of the Jewish people not be dissipated, and we be zoche to the bracha of Bayomim Haim Bazman Hazeh. I want to take this opportunity to wish everyone a wonderful Good Shabbos and a wonderful Simchas Purim. We should be zoche to see Nisim and the flows, and bring our soldiers home, daven for them, bring our captured captives home. Let's end this terrible time for Klal Yisrael as we all, as a nation, as one nation, Vitsumu alive al tochlu al tishtu shloshes yomim laila v'yom gam ani v'narasai otzim Cain, said Esther. We're all united, and when we're all united, great miracles can happen for Klal Yisrael. Let's hope and pray that we're zoche to that bracha speedily in our time. Once again, Shabbat Shalom Uvarach and Chag Purim Sameach.